Good morning or evening, depending on what time of day you're watching this. If you didn't know, my name is DJ, and I am so blessed that you stopped by. So, what I'm doing here today is trying to find all of the potatoes in these random bags, pots, and beds. And I'm also fixing the soil that is in these bags, giving them some rejuvenation because we have had a ton of rain as of lately. I am sad to say it, but the rain has definitely murdered some of my plants. My zucchinis, the gray ones that I really like, have not been doing their best. My tomato plants have not been producing, or they are producing and the squirrels are just taking everything and I'm just not catching it in time. Eggplants were looking a little behind, but now they're actually taking off surprisingly. And my melons, they're just not doing as well as I had hoped they would be doing by now. It's been really strange to see all of this rain, especially in Texas in June. Like, of all seasons for rain to just be pouring down like this, I didn't expect it during the summer. So in this bag, I had potatoes in it as well as this volunteer tomato plant that popped up, which I believe is a Sweet 100s plant from last season. A lot of the dirt in this pot came from my compost bin, so it makes sense that I would have a volunteer plant. I also keep on seeing Malabar spinach pop up, so that's what I was seeing. This is my first time growing potatoes, so it's a cute harvest. I'm very humbled in the fact that, it wasn't a ton, but also I don't know if they really had enough room in these small bags. If I were to do this again, I definitely would give them like a barrel like I have my watermelon plants in, for them to truly, take up their space. And also I would let them stay in there a lot longer. I have some potato plants that you'll see a little bit later, and I thought that they were dead, but turns out that they probably were just stunted because of the rain, and that they could have all the potato plants could have stayed where they were at a little bit longer. But nevertheless, regardless, I am still happy with the harvest that I have, and you will see that soon. This right here is my sweet potato slips. I had 2 large sweet potato plants that were in this pot, but this is actually the second time that I'm cutting off these sweet potato slips. I attempted doing that experiment where you cut off the slips and you put them in water so then they can root, and I had so much success. But with all the stuff that was going on in my life, I kind of just forgot about my experiment, and I also forgot to take the sweet potatoes out of this pot, so they ended up just growing and flourishing with all the rain. So I'm taking those slips off. You'll see what I do with them later. And I'm also trying to get as many of the roots out of this dirt as possible, because I do plan on reusing this dirt and putting something else in the pot. My main goal for this day is just to reset everything and just direct sow a lot of seeds into the garden. With all of the rain that's coming up again this next week, I know that they're going to germinate really well. And I wanted to majorly focus on filling the gaps in the garden as well as companion planting, so then the soil actually can regain some of its health that it lost. So I'll be doing a lot of beans in places to restore the nitrogen. I'll be doing cucumbers, corn, squash, kind of the 3 sister type of growing. So then all of the vining varieties can have something to grow up. I'll be propagating some of the marigolds, sticking them in different places so then they can start growing, because those yellow marigolds that I planted get so tall and their stems get extremely thick. So I was hoping that if I did this, they'd kind of be like tomato plants. They would go ahead and root up, and they would also provide extra support for those vining variety plants. What else did I plant? I planted a lot of basil during this time too. And my phone overheated, so I'm sorry. This time I don't really have the footage, but you will definitely see that in the days to come. I checked on some seedlings that I had started, and some of those sprouted, so I'm going to be taking those out of their current little homes and putting them in the actual garden, whether that be in these 5-gallon bags or in the actual plant beds. All of these sweet potatoes I will be removing, and I know that it's kind of a waste, but right now I don't have the budget to get more dirt, and it's probably going to be most beneficial for me to just grow quick crops that I know that I can turn over for my family really quickly, and we can go ahead and start eating those. Like, I love being positive, but I'm gonna be honest, this growing season has been a bit of a disappointment so far with all of the squirrel damage that I have been undergoing. Those little thieving squirrels have been taking so many tomatoes off of my plants. Also, there's these little like squash bugs that are getting in just about everything and eating at my plants. Because I planted those ground cherry plants, like I have pests from that too. It's just a lot of pests that I'm not used to, and it makes sense because when I came last season and I started planting in these beds, it was late June, not June, sorry. It was late July, and I got here like the very end of July, like the 29th, I believe. And I was planting all the way out through November. Yeah, I was still growing squash in November. So I know that we're going to have a long growing season. So these seeds that I plant are going to be able to flourish and thrive. I just am a bit sad and disappointed that I haven't gotten as much out of the garden, because I know like in other parts of Texas, like you have better weather and they're getting a lot better crop yields. But it's okay because I'm still getting things, which is nice, despite the pest damage, despite these pesky squirrels. We're getting tomatoes, and we're getting bell peppers, and we're getting, what was that? A ton of lemon cucumbers. Not a fan of the seeds. I do like the way that they taste, but that is a heavy producer. Also, I'm getting eggplants. I have been getting the heatless jalapenos. So, I mean, we're flourishing and thriving. Even though it's a slower pace, we're still doing great. So, I really appreciate that I have been able to get things out of the garden. I got a little baby butternut squash growing, and I honestly think that it might be ready to harvest. I thought that it was going to be bigger, but it's kind of tiny, but it's okay. It's okay. I also have a little melon that's growing, so that's going to be fun. I planted some more things that will produce, so it seems like it might be a heavy like cucumber and zucchini or patty squash or acorn squash type of season. I know I planted some random pumpkin seeds, and also I planted some tomatoes, so I look forward to those later harvests too. And honestly, it's probably for the best, because when you're later in the season, you don't have as many pests. So I'm going to count this as a blessing. Oh, that white pot right there, it does not have drainage holes. The tomatoes that were in there completely died. They just drowned from all of the rain that we have been experiencing. I know y'all probably hear my daughter in the bathtub right now. She is singing her little heart away, and I just don't have it in me to tell her to hush right now. So please just bear with me as I talk to you all. So I have refreshed a lot of these pots. I do have a lot of that like starter plant mix mixed in here. So it's a lot of cocoa coir mixed with compost and an organic indoor outdoor potting mix. This is the potato bed. As you can see, like the plants, you can see the green on it, so I know that they weren't fully done. And had I have left them in there, they probably would produce so many more potatoes. But I really kind of wanted to claim this bed back and just do something new, because we eat potatoes, but honestly, we don't eat them a lot. And so I really just kind of wanted to put something new here. If you've been following along, then you knew that before the potatoes got here, this was actually a carrot bed. And I harvested a lot of carrots, but you can see there's a few carrots that actually grew. And as I'm also pulling these potatoes out, I'm trying to see, like, is that the starter potato that I had, or is that a potato that was produced? That right there is actually a date that ended up sprouting, which I was actually really excited about. So I went ahead and repotted that really quickly, and I hope that it actually does become a date tree, because I love dates. They're just a really nice, sweet, healthy snack, and I'll eat them with like peanut butter and like hazelnut spread, and they'll taste just like a Snickers bar. So if you didn't know that tidbit and you have a sweet tooth, but you're trying to be more gut friendly, that's a good snack for you to replace that sweet tooth with. But yeah, I was a little sad at the harvest, but it still is a harvest. So I know what to do next time. It seems like the potatoes really liked this soil. I'll just make sure to leave them a lot longer and put them in a sunnier spot. I have a lot of like those smaller potatoes, like the red potatoes. I had some Yukon Gold, and then there was a purple potato that was in here too. None of them sweet potatoes. This was all of those like dinner potatoes. On a limb, I went out and I purchased the slips from Walmart, and they actually did pretty darn good. So I would do that again, surprisingly. The dirt I have in this specific bed is different than the other beds. I mixed in a lot more sand into this bed specifically because I knew that I was going to be doing a lot more root vegetables in this bed, and I wanted to have an area where I knew that they would be able to flourish and thrive. I put sweet potato slips in these bed. I also put seeds in this bed. I believe it was corn, a lot of corn that I put in this bed. So I look forward to seeing how everything takes off when the sun comes back out. If you have any tips for planting sweet potatoes and corn, please leave those in the comments down below. I don't know how well corn will do in these raised beds because these specifically aren't too deep and they are curved, but I have high hopes. I am literally fighting against the sun at this point of the day. Like, I got up at 7 and came outside, but it still wasn't enough time. I'll have to get up at like maybe 5:30 next time I do something like this to fully turn over the beds, fix the soil, and just get everything planted in there really well. I believe that I possibly planted some zucchini seeds in there too. There was a random plant that was growing in this pot of sweet potatoes, and you can see it over there in that left upper corner. I think it might have been an acorn squash. If not, it was a patty pan squash, but the leaves look different on it. I just couldn't tell for sure, with me being a new gardener, if it was a sweet potato or if it was something different, but it felt different. Now I am planting 3 acorn squash seeds in this area. I'm going in with some corn now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I think I did about 12 stalks. And I know that's not necessarily the correct spacing. I think it said 9 to 12 inches. But I have faith that it'll actually do well since I did manage to grow some corn in a 5-gallon pot. I'm putting all of the top dressings back on there, and I know that it'll be a little harder to find the seedlings as they're sprouting. It'll take a little bit longer, but it's all right because this straw does have maneuvers and whatnot. But I know on the days that it does actually get hot in Texas, my soil needs some type of covering because it dries out so quickly. Now I am digging through the bag to figure out what extra seeds am I going to plant over here in this bed. Looks like I did cucumbers, bush beans, and zinnias. I was watching the YouTube influencer Gardenary to get different types of companion planting for specifically like raised beds, and I'll tell you some of the combinations that she gave. So for the first combination that I wrote down, she said cucumbers, eggplants, shiso, bush beans, and zinnias. For the second combination, she said tomatoes, peppers, basil, bush beans, and marigolds. For the third combination, she said pole beans, bell peppers, kale, Swiss chard, and then nasturtiums and purple basil in front of that. And for the last combination that I wrote down, she said Cherokee purples, tomatoes, serranos, carrots, arugula, basil, and calendula. And she was basically saying that there's a science to it, and that's the reason she put those combinations together specifically because of all of the nutrients that they take out and put back into the soil. Now, I knew that I had a ton of melons, so I also looked up companion plants for melons, and I found out that you could do beans, corn, basil, and sunflowers as a good combination. And then you can do pumpkin, beans, corn, or sunflowers because those two things can climb up the corn and the sunflowers. Or you could do like a squash, bean, corn, and sunflowers, and that's the Three Sisters method that I just described in those last two. Now, they were saying if you have a lot of empty spots that would be shaded out, you could do radishes, arugula, and bush beans. I am not a fan of radishes. Like, they're okay, but I'm not a day-to-day eater of radishes. And then I also realized that if you wanted to do any type of like, what am I trying to say? Not runner bean, but like any type of trellising plant, and you don't necessarily have the money or the budget to buy the trellises, you could plant tall things like marigolds and sunflowers and corn, and then put those in combination with a climbing plant. You would just have to let them grow for a couple of weeks first, and then plant the plant that you want to climb up them after they get tall enough. So I thought that that was so neat that you don't have to have all the materials to get started. Like, all you really need is seeds and dirt and a place to put it all. And if you have those things, and water, of course you have to have a nice source of water nearby, then you'll be set to go. So I think that I'm going to incorporate more companion planting next season and really think about like how tall plants are, because when I went into planting these garden beds, like, I thought I put so much thought into it, but what I didn't realize, this was my mistake as a beginner gardener, that different varieties of these flowers and plants grow to different heights, and they grow at faster paces than their counterparts. So I know now when I arrange these fruits and vegetables in these beds, because of the way that these beds are specifically facing the sun, I have to just be very, like, even more particular and strategic about where I place these taller plants. Like, even the eggplants, like, you see that eggplant right there? That thing just took off randomly at some random time of the day, and it got super duper tall, and it started shading out that chamomile that's right underneath it. So, like, things like that, I'll need to have, like, now I understand why you have like your herb bed. You have like your herb bed, your medicinal herbs beds, because all of those plants pretty much grow around the same height and at the same time of season. Right here, I am pulling up some of the bean plants that just kind of stopped producing, or they just seemed that they were just not doing their best because of the rain, because of the sun. I don't know what it is, because of lack of nutrients in the soil. It was just the speckles and all of it on it. It was not doing well. And this Swiss chard, compared to the one that I had in my bed of purple beauties plants, like, it just is not comparing. It's not getting as big, as lush, as vibrant. So I was just like, let me just go ahead and pull it up and just restart in this bed, give it a fresh start. It might have too much nitrogen because of all the beans and not enough plants, but I direct seeded a lot of stuff in this bed. So this bed should be beautiful in the next 2 months, and I look forward to seeing it. I'm expecting this plant just to look around it to see if there are any plants that I had missed, any bush bean variety, any vining bean variety that I had missed that was old. And you can't see it right now, but there are some bamboo sticks that have some beans that I planted maybe like a few weeks ago that are doing their thing. It's a ton of rattlesnake beans. They're just doing their thing. Sorry about my bottom going across the camera. But yeah, not too much here. Besides the same thing, just companion planting, being mindful that I am diversifying this bed and, trying to give it a top dressing of some compost that I had left over. And as you're about to see in the next couple of seconds, my phone died. This is the kale that I harvested for the day. The garden's looking like this. And you're about to see the potatoes we got for the day. Thanks for watching, y'all. Talk to you soon. Peace.